From the top rope to your collection, this is collecting the 1, 2, 3 presented by Cardboard Dugout. I am your host, Moon 3PO, and this is my tag team partner, Bropio. Bropio back in the mix, back in the corner, I should say. If you guys have been tuning in, which you guys have been, so shout out to you guys for tuning in on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. You guys obviously know that Bropio is now a father of two. So he's been busy with that. Obviously, family comes first. He's been, figuring out some things, doing all that good stuff. But obviously, Bropio, I see you almost every week, so I know how you're doing. But for the good old listeners of collecting the 1, 2, 3, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm like I said, I've been really busy, obviously with a newborn baby here in the household. So a lot of diapers, a lot of crying. But I'm here for the hot tag, baby. Let's get this going.
Let's get this going. So we got a packed episode here. We should say we're obviously going to start with some unfortunate news. Obviously, if you guys have been tuning in to wrestling, you guys would know that there was some unfortunate releases this past Friday. So we're going to cover that. This upcoming Saturday, which I feel like came very, very quickly. Kind of, I think I don't really necessarily agree with the timing of this pay-per-view, or PLE, I should say. Let's get with the times here. But this PLE, we got Backlash in St. Louis. So we'll be covering that card there for what it seems like it's basically confirmed, set in stone. So we're going to cover that PLE, give our predictions on this episode. And then, of course, if you guys were tuning in last week to my socials, you guys know that I covered the Tops Conference. So basically the top conference, obviously with Tom's and Fanatics, announcing a lot of their new partnerships, what to expect moving forward with a lot of new licenses and already existing licenses, obviously that one being WWE. And we got some exciting news, exciting things. Obviously, big part of that was the debut patches, which we've covered a lot on my socials, a lot on the pod. We're diving into it a little bit more. And obviously, we got some new sets that are coming, hopefully this summer. So hopefully that gives us some more content to cover. If that's, talking on the pod or getting some live rips, I think that'll be very, very fun here moving forward. So hopefully we get those swinging. But let's start with those unfortunate releases. Because on Friday night, before SmackDown, like an hour and a half, 30 minutes before SmackDown was aired, we did get some unfortunate news of some releases here. Obviously, you're going to go through the full list, and obviously we'll speak on a few of them here who we thought, caught our attention, who we were surprised by, and, what do we think is moving forward here with these superstars. But here's the list here. We are recording this officially on May 5th. You may be probably listening to this on May 7th, so a Wednesday recording. So maybe there's more. Hopefully there's not. But if there are more, obviously we'll cover that here on the next episode. But here are the releases as far as of right now. So we got Braun Strowman, Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Wolfgang, Joe Coffey and Mark Coffey, Eddie Thorpe, Riley Osborne, Jakara Jackson, Oro Mensa, Javier Bernal, Danny Palmer, and Shotzi. But Shotzi was not released. They just decided they were not going to be renewing her contract. So she is unfortunately part of that list here. But I'll throw it to you, Bropio. We'll speak a little bit here on this list. What man or women on this list caught your attention where you're reading this and you have to do a little double take? You have to make sure it's not one of those fake X accounts. Make sure that those troll accounts that tweet something stupid. But which person on that list caught your attention a little bit?
Yeah, the one that caught my attention was obviously Dakota Kai. If you know, like I'm a big Dakota Kai fan, Damage Control fan in general too, with EO and the Kabuki Warriors and Asuka and Kairi Sane. But yeah, she that one took me by surprise just because as well, like her and Braun were specifically brought back by Triple H when Triple H took over for the first time. They were previously released, and then Triple H brought them back. So yeah, she took me by surprise, especially because how they were kind of looked like they were building her up to like a good singles run. Like they had her in the finals for the IC, defeated Ivy Now like a shitload of times to get a number one contender shot, and just in general just beat her up. And then she kind of just disappeared. I know she kind of disappeared sometimes. Some of them were due to injury, like when I think she got concussed like from Zoe Starks and stuff like that. And I think she had like some kind of knee injury and stuff like that, which I think was, I don't know if it had anything to do with the previous knee injury that she had when she was in Damage Control. But yeah, I think it's just like the way they were building her up. I don't know if maybe she just got lost in the mix or if it's just I don't know. Like, and not just Dakota Kai, but I think in general, like when I look at all these releases, I think like from the WWE standpoint, like the whole women's division like just got completely gutted. Like I feel like half of the women from NXT are like now gone. I think somebody had put a graphic out that like they were like blacking out like superstars who were like NXT 2.0,
2.0,
and there's
yeah.
like there's only like 2 or 3 girls remaining from that era, which I think is probably like Candice LeRae. God, I can't even think of the other ones, but I don't know Candice LeRae comes to mind. But
I think
yeah, like they just
Nikita Lyons. Did we say Nikita?
yeah, I forgot.
Uh.
I don't know how she made the cut, but but yeah, like the women's tag team division also got like gutted too. Like when they desperately need like well established tag teams, they got rid of probably the most well established in Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. Um, and then they even let go of Jakara Jackson, who is she part of it? Lash Legend, right?
Lash
Like
Legend.
they just fought like a couple of weeks ago for the tag titles, and even at that, like Gigi was teaming up with Tatum Paxley, like. Gigi was live like on Raw ringside like 2-3 weeks ago, and now she's gone. Like it's just I don't know what was the thought process. And these are always like these releases always come at a weird time, like especially since we're just coming out of WrestleMania season. Like all you ever hear from them is like, oh, this was the largest gate for this is the largest attendance for this and that, and they did numbers here and there. I think they should go and release like 20 people, and like it's just the timing is always weird. It just never makes sense. And I don't think it helps too with that whole quote from Nick Khan saying we don't sign people just to bench them, which I think he was obviously taking shots at Tony Khan and AEW that they sign people just to bench them. But that's a whole other story for another pod. But um, I don't know. A lot of the cryptic tweets don't always help. Like with Dakota tweeting, like she was tweeting like, "Oh, I'm not hurt." And she said that she misses wrestling with you guys, or miss wrestling for you guys, and she's like, "I'm not hurt, by the way." You could say the same thing probably with Core Jade. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you saw that whole dilemma of her and Thea Hale and
Yeah.
the Cora's ex boyfriend and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But yeah, same thing for Shotzi. Like I don't know if you saw Shotzi's tweet. I think it was today or yesterday, or I think her last match was probably like on Speed, which is on X, and she like retweeted it. She's like, "This is my last match." She's like, "Can't wait to wrestle for more than 3 minutes." So I don't know. It's just stuff like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, and you could kind of take it a little bit further on what you just talked about. Yeah, I think the women's division in general has taken a big hit, and I think if you tuned into the last episode or even before we did our post WrestleMania, our pre WrestleMania episodes, I talked about the women's tag team titles and how that has been blundered in my opinion, because you had Lyra Valkyria and Bayley, which I love Lyra Valkyria, love Bayley at that time when that match was supposed to happen, but that's a thrown together tag team. Then you had Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch, again, fine tag team, fine women wrestlers. But again, another throw together tag team. Obviously, they have their history with NXT and all that. I get that, but they're not an established tag team. So when you have Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, who was your only established women's tag team, get released, and then like you mentioned there, you had Gigi Dolan and she was on ringside with Tatum Paxley, and Tatum Paxley's by herself now, which is crazy to me. And they were on ringside, live side on Netflix, your biggest platform. Not a SmackDown episode, not on X, not doing some backstage thing. Like you were live on Netflix, where not to throw shade at anybody, I'm not throwing any WWE fans at the bus, but there may be some casual fans watching that for the first. I'm like, hey, who's this girl with the bright orange hair, or like who's that dark hair girl? Like, what are they fighting for? Oh, I'm gonna go watch NXT on Tuesday now, and they're gone. So that to me is the most surprising thing, and it kind of just shows you where they're at with those titles, and that's why Liv Morgan's gonna be gone for a month, and they're not gonna take the title away from them because there's nobody else to compete. Like there's nobody in that division anymore. And at this point, like I don't know if this is like a hot take. Like they should just get rid of those women titles already at this point. Like there's no need for them at this point. You have no tag team division. You have nobody there. You finally are starting to somewhat establish the mid card title with the IC. I think Bayley and Lyra, we'll talk about that match a little bit later. They're going to kill it. And obviously on the SmackDown side, we have Selena Vega and Chelsea Green going for that, or still feuding with that. So I think they're finally starting to establish those a little bit. But your tag team division is non-existent in the women's side. So I think that is completely gone. And I think that just needs to be erased if that's the way you treat those titles. obviously the surprise for me was Cora Jade. To me, when I think about Cora Jade, and I think this is the more shocking thing for me too, is that when I think about Cora Jade, I think about Roxanne Perez, and vice versa. I think about Roxanne Perez, I think about Cora Jade. And you can even make the case here too, like that could have been a tag team for you guys. Like they obviously had their runs in NXT, NXT 2.0, and obviously the more like recently, they were tag teaming. They were in obviously Roxanne Perez turned on her again for like the 5,000th time. I read on the recipe on the WrestleMania kickoff show. But again, kind of proves to the point of like these superstars were not just superstars sitting in catering. Like these were superstars that were in programming. Like they were involved in storylines. Braun Strowman, kind of go back to him a little bit, like was putting on big matches with, no pun intended, big matches with Big Bronson Reed, and was part of that buildup with Jacob Fatu. So like, and I think that was the more surprising thing when I heard about the releases. And obviously, today as well, we kind of had some of the more recent news with AAA and how they had some contracts renewed and how some contracts are maybe coming to WWE, maybe not. Obviously, the bigger controversial one was Roberto Del Rio. I know everybody on the internet wrestling crowd was losing their goddamn minds for that. Excuse my French. Obviously for good reason. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be losing your mind for that. Obviously for good reason. He's a POS. If you go and do a Google search of what he's done and what his history is, doesn't take a genius to figure that out. But supposedly the rumor is that he's not going to be a part of WWE. Like he's just part of the AAA thing. Obviously I wasn't around for the WCW. Technically I was, but obviously I was a youngin. But
Yeah.
so I don't know how that worked back then. But basically, from my understanding, it's kind of like in the same realm where they're kind of absorbing all these contracts and kind of just push them away or kind of keep them on that program. So you can make the case for that. And I think too, again, kind of hinting at what we just talked about is like, we see these cuts happen, but it's just not cuts with talent that are on TV. Maybe there's a case, I know people are also saying too, that they're trying to bring in new people in. I know obviously the big name right out there right now is Mariah May from AEW. She's a big free agent right now. So maybe she's WWE bound. Maybe that's why they're making these cuts. Like, hey, the old bodies that we're not really doing anything with, or we don't have some sort of a history, or we have no plans for them, can go away, and we're going to bring in these new fresh faces. Maybe that's what they're doing. I really don't know. Time will tell. I think once I don't know if they have a no compete clause or like a
So
the
way a lot of the way a lot of the people have been tweeting, it makes it seem like they have like a 30-day no complete clause. But if I was mistaken, when they were, unless stuff has changed, I don't know. It could have, like, a lot of the when you release from your contract, most of them had like a 90-day
back in the day,
like no
90
complete
days.
cause window. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it might still be the same, because I think when Indy Hartwell got released, I think she didn't do nothing for like 90 days, and she's barely resurfacing. I think she's with TNA now.
Yeah.
Which interestingly, she still kept the Indy Hartwell name, so I don't know if that had anything to do with like the TNA WWE relationship, but excuse me. But I think like Cora Jade even tweeted out like, "Oh, I'll see y'all in 30 days." So I don't know if she was released or her contract just expired. I don't think Dakota Kai said anything. Braun Strowman is living his best life. I think when I last saw, he was like out on a boat riding jet skis. So I don't think he gives a fuck. Same thing I think for, I don't know if Gigi said. Well, Shotzi said. See, that's the thing. Like Shotzi said she'll be here in 30 days, but if she was just like outright like release, not renewals, I would think that they didn't have anything. So I don't know if that's something new, or like if your contract is renewed, you just have a 30-day no complete cause. I don't know. But like just thinking about like these releases again, like I think sometimes like, I guess one of the arguments is like, oh, did like WWE like have these already planned, and that's why they didn't like do X and X and X with them. So like, did back in the beginning of the year, like did they plan on releasing Dakota, so that way they just had her lose, but they just maybe, or I guess the way you could think about it is like they had that thoughts, or they're on the fence about releasing her. They're like, well, let's give her these chances. Let's see how the crowd reacts to her. Which sometimes the crowd didn't react to her, and I also didn't think it helped that they gave her that stupid, shitty fucking song that they changed for her. Like, that didn't help. Same thing for Selena Vega. Like, I cannot stand her new fucking song. Like
they got
it drives me crazy. Yeah, it drives me crazy. Like, they get no pop, and like Zelina Vega's a good wrestler. She like deserves the pops. But like, if you go and watch SmackDown, like she gets no pop, and I
that Friday
don't
was
think.
rough.
And I don't think the songs help. And like, you can think back to like the Royal Rumble, like of this past year, like when Finn Balor came out at number 29, number 30, like we heard the song, we're like, who the fuck is that? Like, and it's Finn Balor, and he had no pop. It's because we don't know what the song is. but yeah, like going back to like conspiracy theories about these releases, like you can make the case for like Cora, like that should be her on Raw, not Julia. Like if you really look at it, like, and you can just tell that that should have been Cora Jade and not Julia. Like Julia should probably. I'm not saying she should be on the Raw roster, but like the way like they were just feuding like a couple of months ago for the NXT title, like and now they're buddy going up against Io, and
Yeah.
like even today, like Dakota could have been perfectly in that spot with Io to help out, or vice versa. Like we don't know. I don't know where Asuka's at or Kairi Sane. I don't know. I think from what I last heard, like Kairi Sane's been cleared. I don't know about Asuka, but like that's a perfect opportunity to bring them back into the mix, and and it sounds like the whole. I don't know if the whole damage control thing is done, because I think even when they announced EO, it didn't say like representing damage control or anything like that. It was just EO Sky. So, but I don't know. You can go down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories for some of these wrestlers on why they were released, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, whenever that 30 days is, I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing these wrestlers hopping on podcasts, hopping on.
Well, Cora Jade did say in 30 days she'll
doing whatever.
Tell a little bit more.
Now it's popular these days.
Let us know.
Yeah, it's popular these days where these wrestlers have YouTube channels. They create a platform for themselves to kind of self promote themselves, which they should. They'll be coming out. I know Cora Jade. I forgot who else. I'm not too sure who it was. Was it Gigi? Or I don't remember who it was, but I know Cora Jade kind of already put out some tweets saying that she was getting like body shamed by like her bosses, coworkers, which is why she'll go work out like after her strength and conditioning. So
it was it was Gigi Dolan. Because
right.
that fuckhead Dave Meltzer, like he put out some things saying that a lot of the releases were due to like people like being, I guess, lazy in a sense, that these weren't like hard workers and stuff like that, and DJ like pretty much clapped back at him, and then Cora was like this, and then she had it saying that she was like body shamed by some people. So I don't know. I think the only thing last thing I could probably add to the releases is just like, I think somebody on TikTok said this too, and I don't remember his name, but he's like some bald white guy. He's like at every event, but he was basically just saying like, if all these wrestlers, like if like these are someone like these are your favorite wrestlers, or you enjoy them or you want to support them, like follow them on their socials, keep track of their indie bookies, like go support them if you're in your area, go see the local shows, buy their merch, stuff like that. If they go to rival companies such as AEW or TNA, like even if you're not a big fan of those companies, like but if that's your favorite wrestler, that shouldn't like if Dakota goes to like AEW, like I would happily watch like AEW stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, which we kind of do. Like, I mean, like we were big AEW people. Like when Punk was there, like John Moxley, Daniel Bryan, like those guys. Like when they were there, like we would buy the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
We watched Sting's retirement match at that Dynasty. I think it was AEW Dynasty. I don't know. They have weird pay-per-view names that I can't remember.
Yeah.
But like All In is in here in our state, so I mean it's just a 5-hour drive. So maybe we take a little road trip, maybe.
Hey, you said it, not me. I was already thinking about it. You said it, not me.
But no, I mean, support these wrestlers.
And you stole my final thought there on these wrestlers. Like, as much as we've if you go back and listen to the lore of collecting the 1, 2, 3, or hell, I think there's even an episode on the lore of Cardboard Dugout feed. If you go down the lore, I know we threw some like little slight jabs at AEW, but I think that's why it's important that if you're a wrestling fan, like regardless if you like the product or not, I think it's why it's good that this wrestling industry is the way that it is right now, and that why it's important for companies like TNA, like New Japan Pro Wrestling, like AEW, like AAA, think companies like that, like ROH, those small indie companies that, they stay healthy in this wrestling industry that we are able to talk about on a podcast or talk about on content platforms, remain healthy, because it gives these superstars another area to go and work. Obviously, we never want to see people lose their jobs. Obviously, we work in a corporate center. We see that happen all the time where people lose their jobs. Departments go away, and it sucks. It sucks. So for these wrestlers, this is all that they know. This is their livelihood. So yeah, to reiterate what you just said, if your favorite superstar is Braun Strowman, obviously I don't look like he's gonna wrestle anywhere. I look like he's just enjoying himself on that boat. But if he does decide to go somewhere else, go watch AEW. If Cora Jade decides to go to AEW, I'll go watch AEW. I know she was already there before, but I'll happily go watch AEW again.
I had no idea that she was
young.
AEW. I think she wrestled on Dark, right?
Yeah,
AEW Dark.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do that anymore, but
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
When I saw that, Yeah, she looks. Yeah, she look
Yeah,
like she looks like a kid now, but she looked like a kid there. Super
yeah,
young. Obviously, Indy Hartwell's over at TNA. You know, you can watch TNA on there's the TNA app. They have the streaming platform. You know, there's ways to watch it. Um, so yeah, go out, support your favorite wrestlers, do what you got to do. And obviously, you know, there's always that thing, never say never. You know, there is always going to be that possibility that these people do eventually show back up, regardless of what they say. It's evident, regardless of what you say, what you do post WWE, there's always that opportunity for them to come back. So maybe go out, build a name for yourself, come back, you know, and you'll be fine. So yeah, that's all I had on those releases. Nothing out of the norm there, but that's already been said here on the internet. But let's talk about Backlash. Let's get into some lighter note here. Let's get into some Backlash. We got Backlash officially this Saturday on May 10th. I know I kind of hinted it here a little bit. Bropio, do you feel like Backlash came a little bit fast? I think it did. I don't remember last year being so quick, but I feel like WrestleMania was just like a week ago, and now we're already here at Backlash. And then next week we have Saturday Night Main Event, or like 2 weeks from now we have Saturday Night Main Event, which is to me another
yeah.
bonkers
And
thing.
then I think if I'm not mistaken, like in 3 weeks is Money in the Bank. Like, yeah, like it's I don't know. It sometimes I feel like the build-up's not there, and I think that's why maybe sometimes there's like a misconnect. Like I guess maybe like you'll see something feuding or like it'll go weeks, like they'll build the story up, but then they won't be on that upcoming PoE, but then they'll be on the next one. So it kind of like drags out. So I don't know if maybe that's why um it feels like that. But yeah, I feel like it came super fast. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm like universe mode in 2K and I just like ran through a whole calendar year in one day. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I felt. I was like, man, it was like it's my wife's birthday and it's back. I was like, oh my lord. But yeah, it came by super quick. So when I told her, I was like, hey, by the way, your birthday is the day before Backlash. You know, we can pregame a little bit, then want to go back out there. Hey. So hey,
Yeah, Jim.
it starts at 6. It starts at 6 Central Standard Time from what I was thinking.
Our Shield brother and Jim Bro, his birthday is also this weekend too.
On
So
Thursday. So hey,
yeah,
it's a week. It's a week for us. So it'll be a good time. So I was like, hey, I wasn't mad about Backlash. I was like, hey, go watch some wrestling pregame, watch John Cena, Randy Orton one more time, then go out and and go have a good time. But let's dive into this card a little bit. This is what's been confirmed as of now. Obviously, again, we talked about, we recorded this here after Monday Night Raw. So the card may change. I don't think it will. I think it'll be kind of stupid for them to add a match right before. But who knows? It's wrestling. Anything can happen. Let's go through this card here and give a little bit of some little quick predictions here. So first here on my list here, I'm just reading it from bottom to top. We got the newly announced match here for the Intercontinental title. We got Dirty Dominic Mysterio having his first official title defense versus Penta. This is straight up singles match, no stipulation in play for this one. Who do we have here for this one? I think I would go first here with this. I think it's going to be Dirty Dom. I don't think you're going to take the title away from him that early. Obviously, there's going to be some sort of interference with the Judgment Day or, you know, whatever. Maybe El Grande Americano if you still want to continue that. But yeah, I don't see them taking off the title off Dirty Dom that soon, especially after the pop that he's had. And I think he'll be on a little bit of a generational run here.
yeah. I had little good old Dirty Dom winning this one too. But yeah, I don't see it being like a clean pin. I do see like you said, some kind of interference. Possibly especially tonight, like how we saw Chad Gable get involved in the match and with trying to screw over Penta. So maybe we see the whole Chad Gable El Grande Americano rivalry with Penta. I don't know. I think it's essentially like I always try to think like I'm like, where the hell are they gonna go with this Grande Americano character? I think eventually it's probably gonna lead down to like a mask versus mask. Like that's the only way I see this going down, especially since like Chad Gable's like, you know, when he got hit, I think he's all those damn luchadors. Like it's essentially I feel like that's where it's going down. So yeah, I think it's probably gonna be Dirty Dom, not a clean victory. But yeah, I see Dirty Dom retaining.
Speaking of El Grande Americano, did you say he won the speed title on Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah, yeah. He beat he beat Dragon Lee, right?
Oh, like, oh man,
Uh,
they would do that on Cinco de Mayo, but it is what it is. um, yeah, nothing to write home about. Obviously, be a good little match. Obviously, they've wrestled before. I think they wrestled last week on Monday Night Raw. So yeah, it'll be kind of be the same idea. Next match here, we got a fatal 4-way for the United States Championship. We got Jacob Fatu, LA Knight versus Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. I throw it to you for this one, Bropio. Who you got winning this fatal 4-way?
oh yeah, easily the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu. Yeah, this one's probably just gonna be a fucking classic banger. Like, you just got 4 top superstars, especially you got heavy hitters and like McIntyre, Priest, Fatu. And you got LA Knight, who's just that scrapper. But yeah, I don't see them taking the belt off Fatu anytime soon. And like I said, you just got like 4 like big players, so I think it should be a pretty good match. But yeah, I got Jacob Fatu on this one.
Yeah, agree 100%. I don't think he's dropping this title anytime soon. I think he will have a very, very lengthy reign. I think in these kind of multi-man matches, it is a way to kind of protect him a little bit. Like eventually, if you do want to take the title off him, don't want to eat a clean pin, you could set up this match or with different participants sooner rather than later. But yeah, I agree 100%. Jacob Fatu is absolutely on a tear right now. Love the way the crowd's chanting his name. His interest is that the backwards jersey with Fatu that he wore on SmackDown with the U.S. title. Absolute banger. And then kind of having that Umaga homage. I think it was a backstage photo where he's holding the title with his mouth, kind of having that Umaga resemblance there was absolutely fire. So yeah, absolutely there. I think it's going to be a great match there between all 4 participants. Who's going to eat the pin to be determined. I think we'll probably see like Damian Priest eat the pin. You kind of want to protect McIntyre a little bit. Don't want to have LA Knight take back-to-back laws on the PLE. So yeah, I think it'll be an excellent match. We'll see some tables probably be broken, some crazy things going on. But yeah, I think it's going to be a phenomenal match here. And then leading up to another match, which I don't know how I feel about this. It can go either way depending on the promo too, or how you feel about it. But we got Gunther versus Pat McAfee. I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. Who we think is going to win this one? I think we both have Gunther, the ring general, taking this one here. But how do you feel about this? I'm like, I like, it doesn't bother me, but I'm like, really?
Yeah, I feel like it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't see what's the. I guess it. I mean, that's probably why I'm not in the booking chair. But like, where is this gonna go? Like, does this benefit anybody? Like, does it benefit Gunther to be the Raw announcer? And what does this do for Pat McAfee? Like, I don't know if maybe this is a way to write him off, because I know he likes to disappear like during college football. So, and I don't know when it actually starts, to be honest with you. I know sometimes it could be like in the summer, so I don't know if this is a way to like write him off TV for that. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't. It's kind of just like, why did this have to happen? Like, if you're gonna write off McAfee, you can just send him off. But I don't know if maybe they want to send him off in a, I don't know, like a hero way. I really don't know. Like, it just, yeah.
Yeah. When they were doing this and planning this out, and like I kind of saw what they were going to be doing, I was like, are they really going to be doing this? Like, Gunther doesn't need heat. I know some people are saying, well, this is a good way to get heat back on Gunther. Like, Gunther doesn't need heat. Like, he's a natural. He's one of the few people in this genre of wrestling, in this era of wrestling, where like it's so hard to be booed and like so hard to generate that reaction, because obviously you do bad things that people are going to cheer you, and vice versa. You do good things that people are going to boo you. But in this era of wrestling where he can still generate boos despite what he's doing. So like, I know I saw some people throwing that around. So I don't see where it's going to go. Obviously, Pat McAfee has had some good matches in the past with NXT when he did his whole feud with Adam Cole, but that was years ago. So time will tell if he's able to move like that still. I know he kind of surprised me that I watched that a couple of days. Went back and watched it a couple of days ago. I'm like, the dude was moving back then. So
Yeah.
but it's been a little bit, a couple of beers and a couple of some devil's lettuce there in between. Who knows what's going to happen with that. So see, time will tell on that. I don't expect it to be a long match either. It has to be a squash in my opinion, because if you're getting beat up and almost beaten by Pat McAfee, that just kind of shows you where the creative and bookings at. I'm not, obviously, like we just talked about, we're not in the booking chair. Maybe once that new Netflix doc comes out, maybe we'll start seeing these ideas that these people are presenting, because yeah, some of these things they've been throwing out these days does not make any sense to me. Next up here, like we talked about a little bit in the where we're talking about the releases here, we got a women's title match here for the Intercontinental Championship. We got Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. Now, this one here, I feel like can go either way. Depending on the way WWE has liked to be going these days, you can make the case for Lyra, you can make the case for Becky. Um, I'm gonna throw it out there. I wouldn't be surprised if Becky Lynch wins, and I would actually see her getting the upset. Unfortunately, I like Lyra, I really do, but the way this episode went and the way that they kind of been promoting Bailey a little bit, and not Bailey, Becky Lynch, I think I would not be surprised, and if I was a betting man, not financial advice, I would put a little bit of some schmeckles on some Becky Lynch.
Yeah, this is one of those where I have like I don't want to say conspiracy theories, but it's just one of those like rabbit hole thoughts that because when when Becky first came back, there was like rumors that popped out that they held off on her return because they didn't have the whole creative like planning out. Is from what I heard that they didn't have she didn't want to come back until I guess there was like a story in place, which I guess makes sense. So it kind of got me thinking to the point where well maybe Becky's been signed this whole time, and then maybe Becky was supposed to be in the IC tournament, and maybe she was supposed to win the IC title maybe from the beginning, and or maybe just some things didn't work out. So maybe I feel like that's why they put it on Lyra, and I think that's probably why I feel like the IC title hasn't really been like showcased as much as the women's US title was. Because if you go back and look, like it wasn't showcased that much. Like there was, I think when Lyra had the line, she's like, "Oh, I've defended this title more than you've appeared at work today."
I was like, how much
Which
you
I
defended
think,
like
honestly,
once?
yeah, I don't think she has. I think she's only defended it like twice. I think it was one against the rematch against Dakota, and then once I think against Ivy Nile, and I think that's it. You might have to fact check me on that, but I feel like they wanted Becky to have it, and so they put it on Lyra. And obviously, like they're trying to figure out, like, okay, how do we get the title on Becky? And maybe that's the whole thought process. And while they're doing that, like they have no idea what to do with Lyra with the title. And I think that's why you saw like random matches or not as big of a build up for her. And then as soon as Becky like gets like the okay to like or I don't know, I guess maybe says okay to the story, like all of a sudden you got like this rush story, like and it costs Bailey her WrestleMania spot, and then now you got this kind of feels a little bit of a rush of a build up, and they just put the card on Backlash, and if Becky wins, then they kind of be like, I don't know, man, you kind of confirmed my thought process as to where maybe Becky was supposed to, and I don't know, and if that does happen, I mean, you could even make the case that Becky's probably like in the same boat as Charlotte, where she's just coming in and she's wreaking havoc on the roster. And I like Becky more than I do Charlotte, but does I don't know if it has anything to do with like the way like they were brought up, like you know what I mean? Like you can probably say that Charlotte's obviously had more opportunities than Becky had from the beginning, and now they're kind of like they're kind
On
of
that
even.
same scale, yeah.
Yeah, to where they have that level of power to where like Becky can, say like, no, I don't want to do that. Where she has like, so I don't know. It's interesting how they keep on. Becky brings up Bailey a lot, so I don't know if Bailey's gonna have anything to do with this.
Yeah, that's when I was speaking.
Hopefully,
I said Bailey on because I feel like there's like a way to like introduce Bailey back into this. I know there's been those weird. I don't want to say weird comments by Bailey, but there's been like those where she had her interview. I didn't see it. I just saw quotes where she's talking about how she's like. I don't know if she said like she feels disrespected, but she doesn't feel as respected
yeah,
as the other three, and she doesn't feel like she's on their level. So like maybe
yeah,
you
dude. And
dive into that a
honestly,
little
like
bit.
I actually saw the whole interview. Uh, she pretty much said like she feels like she's not on the same level as like Becky and Charlotte. She feels like she's not like respected by the fans, but she's done like all this stuff. I feel like Bailey's been like that for like her whole career. Like I remember that when they first did the introduction of the WWE Championship when they first brought it back when it was leaving the Divas. What WrestleMania was that? Was that when they did the triple threat between Becky, Sasha, and Charlotte? I don't remember what WrestleMania it was. But I always felt I don't know what
35
WrestleMania was, but
maybe
I always
35.
felt that Bailey also should have been in that match. I was like, dude, it should have been a fatal 4-way. Like, I feel like Bailey was always like the last one to come, like staggering along. So I hope this. Yeah. So in that, just going back to that interview really quick before I go on a different tangent. Um, in that interview, she talks about like she's talking about like how the booking and stuff like this and she mentions like really quick, she's like, oh well, when this comes out, she's like, people are not going to be happy. And then like Chris Van Vliet's like, what do you mean by that? And so but by then the whole storyline of her getting taken out of WrestleMania had already happened. So yeah, people picked up on that. So um yeah, I don't know. I do hope I see some Bailey interference here, and maybe that'll spark up a Bailey Becky rivalry again. Which I don't know when's the last time we had one of those
It's been a
between
minute
Becky and
because
Bailey.
it's been a minute because when Bailey was a heel, she was on SmackDown, and I think Becky was like busy being like the Becky two belts, or like busy doing like the Ronda stuff, and like and then she was gone. Obviously, she got had a kid and all that, so I think she obviously was gone for a little bit.
Yeah,
So if my
that's why I
memory,
said it's been a hot minute.
yeah, because Bailey had the more of the heel, and correct me if I'm wrong. People can fact check me. I think Bailey had more of the heel turn, like more of the heel run against Charlotte. So I think that is where kind of where it turned. Because I remember like the Charlotte's, it's like they're fighting out SmackDown, and I remember the hugger in floaties came out, and she comes down and just cuts them, and I think she beat Charlotte that same day, if I'm not mistaken. So I think a lot of the heel run was involved with Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody needs to fact check me on that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then we got into like the whole COVID era where with
Mhm,
her and Sasha, where they each had the belts from Raw and SmackDown and
mhm.
the tag team belts,
Yeah.
which essentially ended up fueling the Sasha Banks leave from WWE. And then and then that's when Bailey disappears again. And then when she comes back at SummerSlam and she forms Damage
Damage
Control
control. Yeah.
with Dakota and Io. And then I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's been a
I
minute.
don't
So
know.
yeah, hopefully we see her back. I think hopefully this kind of like, and thankfully you watch this, so you can help clear out some of the images there, or clear out some of the paraphrasing that I had. But yeah, I've always liked Bailey. I feel like she has been a little bit disrespected a little bit, and when it comes to credibility, when it comes to the four horsewomen, when you talk about them. But yeah, would love to see her back in there, get involved in the mid-card title with Becky. I think help rejuvenate that title a little bit, help bring some life to that title, because it desperately needs it. Because like you mentioned, I think the U.S. title has had a lot more life. Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Alba Fire done great with the title. I like Selena Vega, but yeah, it's the no pop that man that just does it for me, man. Like I'm like, God,
I'm telling you,
she's a good wrestler, but man, it's a struggle, man.
I don't know if it's a song, man. But I also try to think like I don't know. I don't know what it is about some of the wrestlers that just don't get no pop, and unfortunately she's just one of them. I'm just trying to remember like if she ever got like real big pops like when she would come out with like the LWO song, like. But
The only pop I remember her getting big, and the big one obviously was the one in Puerto Rico, but that was obviously for obvious
because I think
reasons. Yeah,
yeah. But speaking of Puerto Rico, I saw for the first time today the Damian Priest and Bad Bunny match. It was playing
you
on
probably
the.
seen that one.
I barely saw it. So a lot of times, like when I'm feeding the baby, like I'll just go on YouTube and I'll put like they have like those playlists from WWE that just
Yeah.
run like random crap. So I picked that one today for Backlash, and that one happened to play, and I was like, "Damn, that was pretty cool." And I'm like, "Damn, what happened? The fuck happened to Carlito? He had a big pop when he came
Yeah.
out."
No, he's just some guy in the locker room playing 2K.
He's fucking acting a fool in the Judgment Day locker
The
room.
Judgment Day locker room, or what do they call it? The
Yeah,
clubhouse. The clubhouse. That's
the
the
clubhouse.
clubhouse. The exact term that they use. So back there
Yeah.
eating apples, eating spears from Braun Breaker, and and playing 2K. But yeah, I think that match will be fine. Want to be mad whoever wins, but again, wouldn't surprise me if Becky takes it. But the last match here, we got the main event. I believe they're promoting this as the last time ever, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know if it's being officially advertised as that.
I feel like I saw something where they said like the last time ever. I could be wrong. It could be one of those stupid things like when they
Oh yeah, you're right.
the last
It's
time ever.
being
Right?
billed as one last time. Yeah.
One last
Yeah.
time. All right, one last time. According to this, we got Randy Orton versus John Cena.
What fucking year is it that
Dude,
John
I put
Cena
that in my
versus
last
Randy Orton?
episode. I talked about it in the last episode when I recap both Raw and SmackDown. Like, I feel like I'm in a fucking Earth 2 dimension right now where like roles are flipped, and like it's still I don't want to say it's weird, but like I never would have thought we would see a heel Cena. And I said babyface Orton. I wouldn't really consider him a babyface. He's more of a face. People can getting at me. Oh, they're the same thing. There's a difference. There's a baby face and there's a face, in my opinion. There's a baby face where like you're just a true goody goody,
I
and
can see that.
there's a face where like you have like you're built as a good guy, but you have those heel tendencies, and you get cheered as a good guy, which I see him as a face. So, but regardless, it still is weird to me that I'm seeing a heel John Cena versus a face Randy Orton for the one last time for the WWE Championship. And because we didn't have you on last episode, I kind of talked about my thoughts on the feud. What have your thoughts been on this so far? I know some people again are like, it's been a hit and miss. Some people are saying it's better than the Cody feud. I think that's kind of a little bit of a stretch. I think they're kind of tierish. Like it can be, you can make the case.
I would honestly put the Cena Orton over.
You would
Cena, and
you would. Interesting.
Just because I'd probably go back to the same argument that I had. Like Cena's absence, like doesn't help. Like so, all those times where it was just Cody out in the ring. Same thing with those fucking overseas Raws where they're playing like at 2:00 in the afternoon, and like those that I don't think helped. And then I think with all the question marks from The Rock also didn't help because we're also just like waiting from that. Like I feel like the Cena Rhodes feud had too many question marks and too many like what ifs in that storyline where we're left like, all right, like I feel like there should have been more as compared to like Cena Orton. Like we know their history, we know their backstories, we've lived, our childhood has probably like grown through their feuds. So to see them like rekindle, but to have the roles reverse, like it's maybe it's just nostalgia. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing where we get that nostalgia comfort. But dude, I fucking died in laughter when Cena turned around. He's like, "Shit!" and gets RKO. What do you think it was like 2 weeks ago? Dude, I was dying
on the Monday Night Raw episode.
Yeah.
Man, the dude's just been eating finishers on his promos. He's eating crossroads. He's eating RKOs. But
yeah. If you're gonna get a prediction, I think I easily have a John Cena a dub in this one.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I as much as we would love to see a Randy Orton reign coming, I think we'll eventually see it. Obviously, before I think he still has years to go. Obviously, we'll love to see a Randy Orton reign once again. I think he's a 14-time champion, so he'll be a 15-time champion if Cena doesn't go away with the title, as he says. He's going to take the title home, and then when he wins again, he has to start over at number 1, according to John Cena. But yeah, I see John Cena taking this one here. Yeah, I've loved the build-up. I don't know where it goes from here, though. Like, if they're promoting it as a one-time thing, like, once he beats Orton, like, where does it go from here? I think, obviously, I talked about in the last podcast, like, I obviously think, like, they're building it up as a one last time, because I think Cena, and I think WWE obviously has that list of superstars that they want to hit with him. I think we're in May. I said in the last pod that I would have loved to have seen a Punk and Cena for Money in the Bank or like SummerSlam. I think we're like too close to it already. I think Punk is too involved with the Heyman, Breaker, Rollins situation feud. So I think we're too close to that. So maybe they're already building up where we'll eventually get that Cody return. Maybe Cena beats Orton, whatever fashion, dirty, clean, whatever, and then goes for another beatdown. Then we see the return of Cody to save his friend and mentor, Randy Orton. See something along those lines to get that story back, because Cody's been absent since WrestleMania. So eventually get him back in the title. But yeah, I think it's been a good buildup. I think for me, it's, maybe I'm biased. Obviously, I'm a Cody crybaby, was that, last year. But it's like this for me. It's a little bit close as far as of where the rankings have played out. Love the promos that they've had. John Cena or Randy Orton saying this is a void that he's had because he doesn't have a kid, which was like, I feel like it was a shot at me, because people who know me personally know that I don't want kids. So I was like, man, is that gonna be me in a couple of years? Maybe that's you talking to me saying like I need kids or something. So there's a void.
You're gonna end up like Heath Slater. I got kids.
And then like the kid flicking them off, and then kind of going and playing into that. Which I wish they would have showed that. I think that would have been funny if they showed that. But yeah, no, I think it's been a good feud. Again, it will be curious to see where it goes moving forward. I think it's going to be an exciting. It's going to be a good match. I don't think it's going to be like a 5-star, all-time great star match, but I think it'll be just fine. I think they'll do what they need to do on their end. And then
I think it's gonna hit all the nostalgia points. I think we're gonna get like the attempted punt. And we're
Yeah.
gonna flashback. They should bring back Cena's dad for this match. For God's
I was
sake,
gonna be my thought here. I was like, before we close it off, the part that I thought was funny in the promos where Cena, I think I don't know what Cena sells them or what Orton. I think Orton's basically telling him, like, really, you're gonna say that after all that we've been through? Like, weren't you not trying to blow him up with fireworks and kick his dad in the head? So I was like, dude, what are you talking about?
Oh man,
like classic.
on YouTube there's probably got to be a best of John Cena Randy Orton matches. That's gonna be on my watch playlist.
Yeah. So I was like, man, like don't be throwing that out there, man. You tried killing his dad. You, I don't know, did many things to him, and yeah. So it's gonna be a fun match. It's gonna be fun to see that live out, and then yeah, whoever wins, then after that, I'll go destroy my liver with some alcohol for the wifey's birthday. So it's gonna be a good time. Backlash again, Saturday, May 10th. 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. Do your research. Google it. It's probably 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So do your own research. Go on and watch Backlash. We will probably have a post-Backlash episode to TBD. We'll see how it goes. As obviously Sunday is obviously my wife's birthday, and then it also is Mother's Day. So we'll be a little bit busy with that. So TBD on that. So stay tuned for the socials on that episode. But before we head off to the last segment here for the Tops Conference, you have any final thoughts there on the Backlash card?
No. I think we pretty much hit all the points. Got a lot of interesting matches. A lot of interesting, I guess you could say, like, whoever wins, like, where do they go from here? So I think, like, there's they can go all over the place. But yeah, match to keep an eye on. I'd probably keep an eye on the Becky Lyra match, and then obviously the John Cena Randy Orton. So those are Bro Pio's two top keep an eye on matches.
Keep an eye on matches by Bro Pio. New segment here. Keep an eye on matches there. So keep an eye out there for those two matches. But like we mentioned at the beginning of the pod, we had the Tops Conference that was last week. But before we get into that, because I know, again, you were kind of absent, and then obviously you were on daddy duty, so you had to leave when we talked about the patches. We haven't really got your thoughts and opinion live on the pod. I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit briefly on those patches. Obviously, the big thing here that came with WrestleMania and the Raw and SmackDown debut were the WrestleMania patches, and then the Raw and SmackDown debut patches, which we'll talk about what set they're going to be in here in a little bit. But before we dive deep into that conference and what to expect moving forward, what are your overall thoughts on the patch? I know I kind of talked about a little bit of the controversy of the Raw and SmackDown patches. Obviously, we saw the WrestleMania patches when we were watching it together. We were basically playing like Where's Waldo, pointing out who had a patch where. But what are your thoughts on those patches?
Yeah, I mean they're pretty cool. I don't mind them. But I do see like the confusion, and I didn't really get to watch like the rest of or get to hear all your thoughts on the confusion part of it. But I know I'm assuming the confusion was like, I think Roxanne Perez had a Raw debut patch, if I'm not mistaken, when she already had been on Raw.
Yeah.
So yeah, I that does make sense. Like they can cause confusion. But can I also just say that they probably missed a big money opportunity and having like Cora Jade come on a Raw and have her debut patch? Like people will probably be chasing that card. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind them. I think they're cool. Like they should be. Like, did Rusev have a debut patch?
No, he did not have have a debut patch, and also Stephanie Vaquer didn't have a debut patch.
See, that's weird. And like, why did they put one on Roxanne Perez? I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
That was part of my confusion.
I guess that's part of the confusion.
Exactly. So yeah, to kind of talk about it a little bit here. Obviously, you guys have hear me talk about it before, but yeah, obviously the Raw and SmackDown debut patches on that Raw after SmackDown, of Raw after WrestleMania. Obviously, we had the debut of Stephanie Vaquer and Julia. Julia had her debut patch on the back of her foot. Shout out to the good old folks on X and Twitter, where you want to call it, because I put out a tweet saying that she didn't have one, but somebody called me out and said, like, oh, no, she did have one. So shout out to you, because you were right. She did have one clear as day. Well, not clear as day. It was a little bit blurry, if I'm being completely honest. But she was wearing a debut patch. I believe it was on the right side of her shoe or on her left boot, something like that. And then Roxanne Perez had it on her inside of her boot. And then Stephanie Vaquer didn't have one. And I know wrestling can be dicey as far as of like what is a debut, and kind of going back to the Top Script article, it doesn't talk about their official debut. Like they didn't talk about a call up. It just talked about their first official appearance on either Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. So like people who've already supposedly debuted on those brands shouldn't have a patch. So Roxanne Perez should not have a patch. Rusev didn't have one. Aleister Black didn't have one. Those are people who have returned. Fraxium
That's
on
right. Yeah.
SmackDown didn't have a patch when they officially debuted as a tag team, even though but Nathan Fraser and Axiom have had separate matches on the brands, so they didn't have a
That's
patch.
right.
So like it just leads to more confusion as far as like what classifies as a debut patch. So
As a debut.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I think Tops and Fanatics need to clarify that once these sets do come out.
Figure it out, guys. Come on, figure it
So,
out.
and maybe hey, Tops Fanatics, get me on there. We can make some content here. We'll get you on the pod. Who Michael Rubin, we'll get you on. Get the cheap content creator Triple H say cuz like what's the debut patch? What classifies as a debut? Get him on here and clarify these missing patches. But like we just talked about, we had the Tops conference last week, which we obviously Toms and Fanatics announced a lot of crazy stuff within their hobby and their, I don't want to say, I guess the right word would be monopoly. I don't want to say monopoly, but if you want to use that word, you can. They talked about many different licenses they have. If you're into basketball, football, baseball, they talked about all that. But obviously, there's a wrestling card podcast, so we have wrestling cards finally coming. We got new ones coming. They classified it here as 5 official sets. They're counting the Topps Chrome Cactus Jack as one, even though that's already been out. So technically, we're only getting 4 new sets for the remaining of the year. We got Universe, Exalted, Topps Finest, Topps Royalty, and then obviously we had the Cactus Jack Hobby Chrome. The big news that came out of it here is that the WrestleMania debut patches, the WrestleMania patches and debut patches are going to be in Royalty. So if you're going to be chasing that set, that is what to expect moving forward. They did also highlight some big cards here. Not sure if you saw the picture, Bro Pio, but they, highlighted Stephanie McMahon on-card autos are coming. Triple H on-card autos are coming. And then they also talked about here, it showed off some WrestleMania used gear. That's going to be, I think they highlighted Cody Rhodes is going to have, I think WrestleMania 40 gear. I know some people were kind of up in a frenzy about that because they're saying, oh, they're tearing up his gear from night 2 where he won and beat Roman Reigns. But I believe it's from night 1 when he was involved in the tag team match. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, just some overall really exciting things coming in from the conference. And also, if you went to the conference or, you can find the cards on eBay, there are some Topps exclusive cards, autograph cards. Some are in case and some of them are just on-card autographs. So Tiffany Stratton made an appearance there. I know she had on-card autos. I'm actually in the market of buying one. Been trying to find one for a good, decent price, or like ranging from like anywhere from like $100, $120. So to me, that's kind of a buy. I mean, they're kind of short printed, kind of limited release, just because you can only get those packs there at the conference. Also, some big things that came out of here is that we are getting Logan Paul cards for the first time. He is going to have Logan Paul trading cards and autographs. I know the picture they showed him had a debut patch, and people were losing their minds about that. It's just a mock image, people. It's just a mock image to show you the way the cards are going to look. He doesn't have a debut patch. He hasn't worn one, so it doesn't make sense because they also showed Selena Vega with the SmackDown debut patch. She had her autograph on there, but obviously she's been on SmackDown for many years, so she's not going to have a debut patch. So relax, guys.
I think they freaked out too because they the image showed Liv Morgan and had an RC badge on there. They're like, how does it have a rookie badge? And like, I'm not people just
it's just a mock image. It just kind of gives you an idea of what these cards are gonna look like. So don't lose your mind. They're just mock images. We'll get some more confirmation here once these sets are due being released here. The biggest thing obviously right now is that we do not have an official release date for these sets. So that is probably the biggest thing here. I wish we would have gotten, some clarity as far as when these will come. I would think maybe Finest comes first. I don't know. Don't quote me on that because they've done Finest already obviously they did it for baseball. They've done it for UFC already. So I would think that would probably be next in line. But not too sure if you're able to get any glimpses. Obviously they showed some, sneak peeks of Exalted, Royalty, and then also Universe. I believe the picture they showed for Universe was a Randy Orton relic with an autograph. But if I'm not too sure if you're able to take away anything there from the Topps conference, but what are the big takeaways that you have, and what is your overall? I guess a 2-part question for you would be your thoughts on the conference. Is there any key takeaways that you saw that were kind of worthy of pointing out, and just in general for the remaining year of 2025? Are you excited for the wrestling card hobby and what we got coming in for us?
Yeah, man, I'm stoked for all the cards that they're going to bring out, especially Topps Finest. I know I like the way Topps Finest looks. I'm a big fan of like the baseball side of it. And you can actually go on eBay and like look up previous like WWE Topps Finest cards, and they just look clean. Like they're clean looking cards. But I'm also excited to see all the newer stuff that are coming out, and it's gonna be interesting to see how. I guess the big point for me is gonna be the prices. Like if you look at the Panini side, like obviously, like are these going to be like their higher end products of the like compared to like Panini, like the way 3 count was or National Treasure stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what those prices are going to be for them. As for the cards, like I think some of the cards are actually starting to surface like superstar wise, and I don't know I don't know if it's Tops that's posting these videos or if it's WWE. But like I think I saw one recently where DIY was signing one of their cards, and one of the on the inscription, like Johnny Gargano wrote like, "This was worn when we won the tag team titles
Mhm.
at so and so." So I'm like, that's pretty dope. Like that's a good chase card. I think same thing though. I saw a video of Berto from Los Garzas where he's like taking his time because it's a 1-on-1, so he wants to get like his signature down. Pretty cool. So you can obviously tell there's um like they're putting their time into it. Like they're not just like they're not rushing to it. Because I think that was probably the biggest complaint with Topps Chrome is that a lot of this was rushed. So it kind of seems like they've got their plan out and they know what they want to put out, and obviously they're getting all the gears and stuff like that. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, and you hinted it there. It was the Tops putting out the videos there of the Johnny Gargano. I actually saw that video yesterday, and I was like, man, Johnny Gargano's wearing a cool ass shirt. I want that shirt for the pod and want that for everyday use.
Yeah, he wears cool stuff. If you go watch his vlogs, like
his
he wears a
vlogs,
lot of cool,
yeah.
like classic wrestling shirts that are pretty cool.
Yeah, so saw the video. I actually saw it yesterday and reposted it. Yeah, they're signing the 1 of 1, and yeah, they put like a cool little description on there. So yeah, and I didn't see the one of Berto. I gotta go see the one of Berto. I missed that one there. But yeah, no, I think it's cool. I think obviously, we have the pod here. This is why we started the pod. That was a big reason why we started it. I think in general we were gonna start it regardless if Panini still had the license or not. But yeah, I think obviously there's levels to this game, obviously. And I think Thompson Fanatic is showing that level because we haven't seen this at all with the Panini license. We never saw it with the Panini license, unfortunately. Granted, I still think, again, we'll look back at the Panini license and we'll say, they did some great things. There's still some great sets and collectability with those cards. But obviously, I think this top stuff is going to be is on a different level. Yeah, I'm really excited for Finest. I do love Finest a lot. It's one of my favorite sets to rip and collect and buy singles of. So hopefully we get that out soon at a reasonable price. Maybe we use some buyback credit potentially. For these, and obviously I think a lot of these, I know I got some comments on this when when I made the video about it, was like, oh, like are these gonna go to scalpers and things like that. I think what people need to realize with these types of sets is like these don't go to scalpers. I think it's hard to scalp if this, for example, if this is a $1,500 set, I think it's hard to scalp a $1,500 set, especially because that's not dropping at your normal retail store. Like you're not going to go to Target and buy a $1,500 box. But these are going to go to hobby stores and these are going to go to breakers, and that's the world we live in these days. That's where the hobby is at these days. So if you don't like breaking, I know we've had I think you and I both have had like a little bit of a 360 of a turn when it comes to breaking. I think Adam Gilman kind of helped that idea as well, where it's like who we've had on the pod before, where it's like Fanatics and Tops are trying to rip and then get eyes on the product. What's the way to do that? Fanatics Live, obviously. Obviously WWE hosts their own rips. There's some breakers out there who do have their own break. Wax Culture, they have their own breaks. Filth Bomb breaks. Mama breaks, she has her own thing with WWE as well. So a lot of this product is going to go to breakers, and that's fine. You just have to know what you're willing to spend, and obviously it's a good way too, because you don't want to spend $1,500 if you're chasing, for example, if you're chasing a CM Punk card. I'm just using CM Punk, that's who I collect. But if you're spending $1,500 to chase a CM Punk card, you don't get that Punk card. You can spend it's less a dollar amount for that spot. Granted, yes, you're not going to get any additional cards, but you're spending less money to get a CM Punk card, or that's who you collect, or whatever. So yeah, I think that's just the world we're in right now. So just keep an eye out there for that. I know I also made a video on how to. I know some people, again, I recognize a lot of new people are new to the hobby, maybe don't even know what Fanatics Live is. I also made a video on how to join spawns, what to look for, things of that nature. We have a whole lore of podcasts where we talked about breaking. So if you guys want to go listen to those episodes, you can go listen to that and kind of see how we've turned on. I don't want to say turned on breaking, but a lot of our skepticism. I don't know how to say that word. Has turned a little bit. It's close enough. It's late. It's 11:45. It's late here. It's close enough here to find out where breaking is and where it's at in the hobby. So embrace it. Find what you like. Find a breaker you're working with or not working with, but like you enjoy watching and breaking. And who knows? Maybe you'll find some good spots here for these breaks here and for these future sets. But keep an eye on all for the socials. Obviously, we're going to cover it all here on the podcast and on the socials. So follow us here. You can follow me at Moon3PO. That's the channel name. You can follow the podcast, Collecting the 123, presented by Cardboard Dugout on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube if you are a visual watcher. And of course, you can follow Bro Pio at Dad Who Collects, who's been active again. He's finally been active a little bit, obviously for good reason. He was busy, so cut him some slack, but he is back. He's posted back-to-back days of posting. Proud of you. You got
back to back.
Got a little blaster box rip, and then you got your Tops Now cards in. So I'm not going to spoil it for the good old listeners. You got to go check out Dad Who Collects on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Go follow him there. But before we wrap up this episode here, Bro Pio, do you got any final thoughts for the good old listeners of Cardboard Dugout?
Yeah, just like I said, slowly probably we'll be bringing a lot of the content back. I usually, my goal with the Instagram account was to try to post a card a day of something that I picked up. Obviously, I've been slacking, but I mean, I've been buying stuff over the course of the time, so I have cards that I have yet to post that I can probably post here. Same thing with the TikTok. Like I'm gonna probably try to get more into like the box breaks and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, just keep an eye on the socials. Obviously, if you are here, you obviously correct wrestling cards, I'm assuming. Or if not, you're just a wrestling fan. But if you are a wrestling card corrector, don't forget to use your MVP buyback credit. I'm probably going to be using it this Wednesday for some 2025 Bowman baseball. So, yeah, don't forget to use your credit, guys. Come on. Yeah. And if you don't have a store near you, I think there's a way you can send in. I think I saw you can mail in your cards to Tops, and they give you credit. And somehow, I don't know how it works, but look into it if you don't live near a card shop.
Yeah, the comment I got there too, like, oh, I don't have any hobby stores. I'm like, I don't know about that. I think you have to contact Tops for that. But yeah, again, I would just highly recommend you guys follow the socials, keep up with us there. Again, you can follow me everywhere at Moon3PO. That's where I'm active everywhere. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, TikTok, which we're over 1,100 followers on TikTok, which is kind of crazy to me. So shout out to you guys for following me on TikTok, and yeah, kind of a little EO Sky crazy there. So shout out to everybody.
Shout out to the NXT guy. Shout out to the NXT guy, the one who fucking hit it perfectly on camera. That shit was hilarious, man.
So yeah, so shout out to you guys. You guys have been going crazy on the follow button and the view button. So shout out to all you guys there. If you guys haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. And another thing I forgot to mention here is I made a TikTok about it. But if you guys want like a more, obviously, if you go back to the lore of Collecting the 123, we talked about our wrestling fandoms and how we got back into wrestling or how we started with wrestling. But if you guys want to get even more into it and get us a little bit closer, you can follow us and follow me. I don't know if you made an account, so maybe you want to drop your username in here. Dropkick D. If you guys want to follow me there.
Same username as everything.
There you go. Dad Who Collects. You can follow me at Moon3PO. Their Dropkick D is basically like a letterbox D for wrestling fans, where you can list some of your favorite matches. You can rate your favorite matches. So we'll be on Dropkick D for this Saturday. We'll be rating our matches on Backlash. So follow me on there if you guys want to just chat, follow, have a good time, talk some wrestling. I know I have a couple of people following me there already. So yeah. Follow me on Dropkick D, and again, follow me everywhere at Moon3PO. If you guys are listening to Spotify, Apple, make sure to leave a rating, leave a comment down below. What we're doing well, what we're not doing well, so we can continue moving forward. Obviously, wrestling is hotter than it's ever been right now. There's always something going on in the wrestling world, so we'll be having this podcast as much as possible whenever we can and breaking it all down. So feel free to follow the ride here when it comes to actual wrestling and or the wrestling card hobby. I do thank you guys for listening, watching, wherever you're tuning in, and we will see y'all in the next one.